Hey guys, welcome to episode 28 of the Table Talk with Toddy podcast. Have you ever wanted something so bad that you were willing to take an untraditional leap of faith to get to it? Is there a dream job that's been on your vision board for years, or do you wonder what it takes to get hundreds of strangers to recommend you for a job on social media? Well, today on the show, we have someone who took a leap of faith to snag her dream job at Complex magazine. Paulana Lamonier is an edutainer. She loves educating and entertaining her audience through digital, social media, print, and TV talent. And whatever she does, making sure she's telling compelling stories is always at the top of her agenda. Paulana has written for ESPN's The Undefeated, Blavity, LearnVest, Her Agenda, Black Enterprise, and more. Her resume is quite impressive, as she's interviewed some of entertainment's trendsetters from Tracy Y. Oliver, writer of the hit movie Girls Trip, to Yvonne Orji from HBO's hit TV show Insecure. And to the best part of her entire resume, Paulana loves Jesus, Beyonce, and trap music, in that order, so you already know I had to grab her for some one-on-one conversation. In today's episode, we are getting into Paulana's impressive leap of faith as she combined her ambition and the wildly popular Hire Me campaign trend to position herself in the front of hundreds on the internet. So let's go ahead and dive into the show. Welcome to Table Talk with Toddy, a podcast for millennials designed to motivate, inspire, and educate you on what it really takes to live a real life on purpose. This isn't your typical podcast. You can count on me to keep it real, funky, and relatable here on Table Talk with Toddy. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Hey, girl, how you doing? I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you. I'm excited to have you. Now, I read somewhere in your bio that in the 5th grade, your orchestra teacher called you a gossip monger. I had never heard of that word before. Because you love telling your classmates about music, TV, and you threw in cafeteria food. But this apparently had a lot to do with your decision to make this whole storytelling thing into a career. So this is what I want you to do, because I'm curious to know. Take us back to the 5th grade. Do you remember the very first record that you ever bought, or the first TV show you fell in love with that kind of made you want to get into the entertainment industry?
Yes. So my parents, I wouldn't say super religious, but like me growing up, they were very big on making sure, like, they were really big on what I was consuming in the household. So I had an aunt of mine who loved me very dearly, and shout out to Tati Evelyn, because she put me on to Britney Spears, and at that time, that's when Britney Spears came out with her first album.
Yes.
And so that's when she came out with her first album, and at that time, she bought me her first album, and then she got me this little hot pink CD bag where you can put, like, the front part of the zipper, you can put, like, the CDs in, and then the back part, you can put your CD player with the headphones, and girl, I was rocking it in the 5th grade. And then after that, she had bought me my first bootleg, which was the Usher's Confessions album. And yeah, girl, she bought me my first bootleg. It was the Usher's Confession album. And since then, I've just been really into music. And as funny enough, in the 5th grade, I was on the yearbook committee. So that's really how I got my start into, like, I guess you would say journalism and print, because I had to learn a lot about deadlines. I had to learn about, making sure people were involved and things like that. So, yeah.
Right. Interesting. So you mentioned the Britney Spears album. That was your first album. Okay. Like, y'all weren't on the line when Paulana and I had our, like, pre-show conversation. We are finding out that we have a lot in common. And that is also something else. The Britney Spears album was my first album, along with the Brandy. I think the album at the time was Never Say Never. That was my first, like, physical CD album that my brother actually bought me. And so, like, that's, like, so long ago. But that's when I was first also introduced to, like, music. And I guess this whole culture that is now, like, evolving so rapidly. So I wanted to ask you that first because I was like, I could just only picture you in the 5th grade, always catching your friends up on, what's going on in entertainment. And like, that just seems like you were like the cool kid back then. So I would have loved to have been your friend.
I was, girl. I was a cool girl. And I was a class clown,
Yes.
too, so people knew that it was always going to be lit around me. Always going to have a good time.
I love it. So now you're born and raised in New York, right?
Mhm.
Awesome. Okay, so I know you guys are listening and you're wondering, okay, well, how did y'all meet and why did you bring her on this show? So y'all know I always have a reason why I bring someone here, and I know y'all are going to love her just as much as I do. So let me tell you how we met. Can y'all guess? Like, where do I meet the majority of my amazing guests? On social media. I met her on Twitter, and I was scrolling down my timeline. If I'm not mistaken, it was actually the 1st of this month, and something really interesting caught my attention. A retweet by one of my favorite millennial entertainment journalists, Gia Peppers. I love her, and I love following her on Twitter. She's so humble, I love her. And she retweeted something that said, quote, "Since turning 26, I've learned to pursue my dreams with reckless abandon. So I created a site so Complex can hire me." So y'all, legit, I was literally sitting in my bed and I was screaming out loud and in my head, yes, like, yes. So of course, I immediately retweeted it, and just me being me, I had to engage in conversation with this person. Like I had to find out who in the world is Paulana and why in the world I need to know more about what she was thinking when she created this, what is called a Hire Me campaign. So now we're here. I've got her here with us to kind of give us a little insight on what her motivation was to really start this campaign. But for those of you listening and maybe you don't know what a Hire Me campaign is, because I actually, until doing research for this interview, I didn't even know it was such a thing. So maybe I'm just late or I don't know, but I didn't know that people were actually doing this. So a Hire Me campaign is basically like an unconventional resume, and it's a competitive way to grab the attention of large companies that you want to work for. Now, when I first started out as an entrepreneur, I had never, this was something that was unheard of. People just were always taking a traditional route. So Paulana's dream has been to work for Complex Magazine, which is a New York-based media platform that basically hires or highlights the voices and conversations of, some of our artists from hip-hop to pop. That's who they are in a nutshell, which obviously describes who Paulana is in a nutshell, too. She's very fun. She's into what's going on in hip-hop and pop, hence the Britney Spears album. So instead of her taking a traditional route for applying for a position here, Paulana set up a website, and the website is, if you guys, I think it's still up, complexpleasehirepaulana.com, to garner the attention from the brand with the support of her social media networks. Now, this is what I want us to really talk about today. But before we dive in, I want to reference a tweet that you tweeted not too long ago, and it said, "Shoot your shot. Don't let fear paralyze you into not doing it." I almost did. So let's get into it, Paulana. Take us back to the day where you were at your computer and you said, "I'm going to go buy this domain. I'm going to create this campaign." What made you shoot your shot with Complex?
Well, first and foremost, shout out to Gia. Shout out to Gia because she's actually one of my Ween sisters. So there's this program called Women in Entertainment Empowerment Network. And so she was so we filed, so I Gia's like my sister, so yeah. So shout out to Gia for retweeting that, because if it wasn't because of her, we would have never connected. But that moment, I really needed a job, and I still do need a job, but right now I'm just more freelancing. But it was, the inspiration behind it was, I was listening to a podcast episode by Miley Teal called My Taught You, #My Taught You. And she's like my big sister in my head. That's like she doesn't know me. I mean, I know her, but my leak. Hey, girl, that is my big sister in my head. And there was an episode that
on the way.
No, she's amazing, and I just love how transparent she is. And there was an episode where she was talking to Daytwan Thomas, the editor-in-chief of Vibe, and he's like an uncle in my head too. So everybody, they just family in my head. And the name of the episode was like Pursue Your Dreams with Reckless Abandonment. And I was like, wow, like he was talking about how, he was, following Diddy. He was waiting outside of Diddy's office and hoping for an opportunity. And, Diddy was like, yo, keep hustling. And long story short, Daytron was like, yo, I'll see you at the top. And Diddy looked back and he smiled. And I was like, this is how you get people's attention. And I was like, okay, what is a way that I can get Complex's attention? How can I do that? I may not have a lot of the skills because, I may not have a camera, but I know how to read off a teleprompter. I know how to write scripts. I know how to edit. So it's just that I know that as compared to my competitors, it may not be up to par. You understand what they're looking for. So I was like, what can I do to make sure that I stand out and at least get my foot in the door? And I was looking around. I was doing some research. And then I saw this kid, he was trying to, this was at the time where Chance the Rapper was looking for an intern. And this kid, he created a website called Chance Hire, I think his name was Hospi. And I looked at this, I was like, yo, this is really dope. I really like the idea, but I honestly was not going to do the website. I really didn't want to, although I love the kid's idea, but I was like, I really didn't want to. I felt like it was really, audacious, like very ballsy for me to tell you to hire me. But come to find out, the kid ended up getting the job. So I was like, you know what? If that works for him, let me do it my way. I love I'm a big person on giving credit to where it's due. So I was definitely inspired by what he did. And I was like, you know what, let me do it my way. And so I bought the domain, Complex Please Hire Paulana, and I made sure I put the please there because I really wanted them to see that, not in the sense of it's a form of begging, but it's a form of like, yo, just give me a shot. Just give me that one opportunity to prove myself. And, just give me that chance and I'll take it from there. That's all you need me to do. That's all I need you to do. Just give me that chance and I'll take it from there. And so I bought the domain name. I literally probably had like maybe $20 in my bank account. Excuse me. I bought the domain name and then from there I just started, I started adding things that I thought were important. So, I made sure my personality, but also my creativity was there. So you saw I added the gift where it was like, I made sure the bio was pretty funny. I added the gift so people know that I have good camera presence. I had had a space where you could see my past work. And then I wanted to show like, yo, if this girl is doing this by herself with not much backing, can you imagine if she had an engine or a company like Complex to back her up? And that's what I wanted people to see like. And the whole point of the campaign was to get people. I didn't have a large following, but I had this click to tweet, which I know Nadeska is probably like really annoyed that I had everybody at her. But it was like, the tweet was, hey, Complex and Nadeska, you've met the rest. Now here's the best. Please give Paulana a shot. And I feel so bad that I probably should just like send her, an apology tweet. Sorry for having people bombard you, but maybe I should have had the EIC's at name or something like that. But I felt really bad. Now I feel really bad. Like I had a bunch of people tweeting her, and she's probably not even a part of the hiring process. So I probably should have thought that through a little more as far as who should have been the at name. But yeah, so I created the website, and now I'm here.
That's so that was the move you made was definitely a faith move. And I can relate to it because I can recall, a lot of instances, like when I first got into this whole, I guess, entrepreneurial journey, because I guess that's what it is essentially. I had a lot of the odds against me. So I know you mentioned that you probably didn't have as much experience, a camera, or, the quote unquote prerequisites for a particular position or a particular job, and you used what you had and you packaged it up and you made it appealing to everybody else. And I think that's something that a lot of people are missing nowadays, is that extra wow factor that we can create. And I said something like this on Snapchat last night, like everything we need to get to the next level, we already have. It's in our heart and it's in our mind. Whatever you already know, you can utilize it to get you to propel you to the next level. So this is why I was so intrigued by your whole campaign. And even though, people have done it before, I think the one that I remember from before yours was Matthew Epstein. I think his website was like Google Please Hire Me or something. And like people have done it before, but what I think what really, I guess, caused me to want to learn more about you was the story behind it. How you integrated a story. So you didn't just say, hey, hire me complex. You kind of gave some history on why. You told people why. And with every industry, like it's already saturated. That's already a proven fact. But I do believe that our individual stories and our willingness to take it a step above what everybody else is willing to do is what's going to give us that dream job or that dream position. So can you, I know you already told me, but can you tell the listeners, like, what was the response from Complex? Did you get one? Because I know you got like over 300 retweets, so it went viral pretty quickly, and it garnered a lot of attention. So can you tell us what the result was from the campaign?
Yeah, so that campaign pretty much got the right people to see me. Like it got people's attention, and that's really what I wanted, was to make sure, like, even if Complex didn't hire me, somebody gotta hire the kid. I need a job, okay? So, and it really just, that was the attention that it got, and I felt like too that it kind of created a domino effect. Like people started being more, people started pursuing their dreams more. Like they started taking their dreams more seriously. Because I feel like, people, they dream and like, if I make it, I make it. If I don't, I don't. But me, I was like, oh, heck no. Like, y'all gotta hire me. Like, I'm literally begging you at this point. And so I had a lot of different people, they hit me up. They hit me up and, they were, asking me what's the status. People were tagging on Facebook. People were tagging the HR recruiters, tagging their friends, editors, that worked at Complex. And so pretty much, I got an interview. It got my foot in the door. I got an interview and I was crying. I was like, thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. I started speaking in tongues, girl. I was like, hallelujah, Jesus. Oh my God. I started speaking in tongues because I got the interview, girl. And yes, I got an interview literally. So like I got the interview. And then they called me in the next day, and then I did the screen test and everything. But just to fast forward, I didn't get the job. I ended up not getting the job. For internal reasons, I guess their hiring process. I probably won't go into detail with that, but I didn't end up getting the job. And and the day that I got the job, it was the day of my youth revival. And so I'm the youth leader at my church, and so. Okay. I'm the youth leader at my church, so it was the first day of our youth revival. So literally, it was 10 a.m. It was 10 a.m. The interview from 10 to 1, and then literally they told me like, we're not bringing you on board. And I was like, okay, me personally, I took that as a not right now type thing. I was like, all right, in my head, I'm like, all right, you said no, you said no now, but I'm gonna just take that as a not right now, and so I'm sorry, I'm trying to get my thoughts together, and so so when they told me no, I was really devastated by that, and then on top of that, I had to lead praise and worship at my church literally a few hours later. So I felt so defeated and discouraged. And then for me to sit there and lead praise and worship in front of a bunch of youth, in front of kids that are seeking God for something, I was devastated. I was like, Lord, like I took a leap of faith. I did what I was supposed to do as a Christian. I've been, going according to what I was supposed to do. And here I am. I have to sit there and be not a beacon of hope, but encourage youth. And I'm not even encouraged. It was probably one of the worst days because I was upset, but, God has other plans. God has other plans. I'm not going to sit there and argue with it, so yeah, that's what I was going through that day.
I understand, like, what you said, and first of all, thank you for your transparency, because that's hard to get from some people. And I can only appreciate when you can just be honest. From you say, you needed a job. Like, you needed a job, and that was a part of your motivation for doing it. And from, them telling you, no, not right now, because that's really what I take that as the same thing, because you've already planted the seed.
Right.
And so now that you planted the seed, when they are hiring or, like, it's kind of like branding. So when people think of hiring somebody for Complex, then you're going to come to mind because of the effort you put in the seeds you planted. So, yeah, I do take it as a not right now. We'll be hearing from Complex soon, guys. You heard it here first. Okay? So, but what you said about, having to go and do praise and worship after, a disappointing time, because it was disappointing, you feel like you've done everything and then it doesn't turn out the way that you want it to. Like, as humans, that's just naturally disappointing. But I do believe that all of this, I think sometimes God pushes us to make moves that we think we've dotted all the I's and crossed the T's, and we have a specific outcome in mind, but for him it's different. So who knows, maybe this campaign was to propel Paulana, the brand, into another atmosphere, or to get more awareness around who you are. And then after a while, these publications and media platforms are going to be knocking your door down, so it could have been, the same way you're doing this interview, like I claim for you right now, a whole bunch of interviews where you could tell the same story. And you don't know who is going to reach, who's going to listen, and be so inspired by your willingness to even take it that far and to take it that serious. And that's going to be the thing that's going to get you the job that you want at the right time.
Right.
And so that's why I really wanted to hear, like, what your whole thought process was behind it. But more importantly, going forward, not just for you, me, but for everybody that's listening, I also believe that in the meantime doesn't mean to do nothing. And I always tell people that, like, always being prepared for the opportunity that you want is just as important as landing the opportunity that you want. So another thing you posted on Twitter, because I love your tweets, I always read them, and you posted something last week and you said, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And that's like one of my favorite mantras ever. So I want you to explain to us how this translates in your life, and can you tell us of an opportunity that may have come to you in the past as a result of being prepared? So let's talk a little bit about the power of being prepared.
The power of that is a great question, the power of being prepared. And meaning, like, as a journalist, you want to make sure that your site is ready as far as, like, your domain name, making sure you have clips ready to go. If people are asking you, making sure you have story ideas ready to go. Like, for me, for instance, I have a Google Doc of all the ideas and all the people that I want to interview for this year and next year. And I'm proud to say that I'm like halfway through it. So I praise God for that. And that's just a lot of discipline and consistency, and making sure, like I mentioned earlier, having your website ready, making sure that your clips are ready to go. So that when people are asking you, hey, what can I see some of your past work? Oh, here they are. If you have if you want to do on-camera work, where's your reel? Now I'm currently working on my reel at the same in the current moment, but I still have videos that can prove like what I'm like on camera, what I'm working on right now. And so as a journalist, you always want to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Taking edit tests, making sure that you're freshening up on your skills, making sure you know what's happening in the current day, you know, what's happening in the news, what's in the news cycle right now. So I think I'm a firm believer in stay ready so you don't have to get ready, because when that opportunity comes, girl, you don't want to be walking around like a chicken with no head. Like, that's the last thing you want to do. Like, if the opportunity comes, okay, yes, I'm ready to go. And that's why, because these opportunities, you know, another one may come down the line, but why wait for the next one if the opportunity is right in front of you?
Exactly. Very, very, very true. Very true. And all the time, you know, that you have in between opportunities, I feel like you should always be pouring into yourself, always learning, because they say knowledge is, I think Eric Thomas said, knowledge is the new money. Get you stuff. And I firmly like, if you aren't where you want to be, if you're not working the job that you want to be, there's so much work that needs to be done in the meantime. Self-development, learning more about your craft, becoming the best at your craft. And another thing I firmly believe in, I guess this is just a brand strategist in me, is building your own platform, building out your digital resume. Like, people should be able to Google you and find something. You shouldn't wait until the first major corporation hires you to get a resume popping. You know what I mean? Right. So be doing stuff, and I know you do with your church and to see what you've done. They have access to that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So just always being prepared, and like you mentioned, you're working on a reel, and just always bettering what you're doing so that when the company or the dream job does present itself, that you know, have your stuff together. And the chances of you getting that job is a lot greater. So you've inspired me all over again.
Praise God.
You know,
Thank you.
Talking to you, and you're amazing. And like I said, like the whole complex thing, I feel like it's just a knot right now that they're definitely going to call you, and you're going to get that job. But is there any, if you could give any last words to someone out there that is maybe in a position where they don't have their dream job and they don't know how to go about pursuing it, can you give them one piece of advice for being unconventional and taking that leap of faith like you did with your Hire Me campaign?
Yeah, so one piece of advice is, you know, if plan A doesn't work, make sure that plan B is to make plan A work. I think there's actually a quote somewhere, but you always want to make sure that your backup plan is always to make sure that your plan A is still in motion. I think that investing in yourself is really important. So I have a life coach, not to go on the tangent, but I have a life coach. Shout out to Stacey Sang. And she, I feel like God really placed it in my life, and she always reminded me, like, okay, what are the steps that you're taking to making sure that your plan is going into effect? Okay, you're running out of money. That means that you need to make sure you have a job so that you can still have your dreams are still in motion. So me, for instance, I'm a swim coach. I'm a swim coach. So I teach people how to swim. Right. And I've been doing it all through college. And I did that because I need to save money, and I can create my own hours. I can work at any pool, and there's always somebody in demand wanting to learn how to swim. So that's always been my side hustle. And whatever you do, make sure you make those side hustles lucrative to the point where you can make sure that your dream is still happening. So please don't give up on your dreams. And if you feel like you are, try to get some accountability partners to make sure that you don't. And make sure that plan B, most importantly, plan B is in place to make sure that plan A goes into effect.
Absolutely. Perfect. Perfect advice. Perfect advice. She gave y'all a lot there. So thank you, Paulana. Like, I feel like we're new friends now. I've made a new friend, and hopefully I can get you back on the podcast later, soon in the future. I think we can continue to have really good conversation. And so thank you for agreeing to come on here and just, I guess, share and be vulnerable and transparent with my audience. And I know that someone listening is going to be inspired because, like I said, before we even got on the phone, I was super inspired by your story and just feeling that connection to you because of your ambition and your willingness to do whatever it takes to get to the next level without losing who you are. I have to point that out. Without, losing your faith and without compromising who you are. And I think that that's so important to point out because I can't imagine how many people are trying to get a job at Complex and some other large publications. But the fact that you haven't lost who you are, it says a lot. And I know it's going to take you far. And I think that's something that everybody listening can take away from. So thank you again for hanging out with us. Can you tell the listeners how they can stay in touch with you and if there are any large media platforms or publications that are interested in learning more about Paulana? Can you tell them how to contact you?
Yeah, so you can find me at It's Paulana. That's my Twitter and Instagram name, ITSPAULANA. It's Paulana. And, I'm looking forward to, whether you are looking for a TV or on-air personality or a writer, I am your gal. I am your gal. That's it. I am your gal. And shout out to Tracy G because she was the one that actually coined the term edutainer. So I want to make sure I shout out to her because that's my girl. And she inspires me a lot, too. So Tracy G was the one that came up with edutainer. So I'm inspired by her. So I was like, I'm going to call myself edutainer, too, and speak that into existence. So,
yes.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you again. Thank you guys for hanging out with us today. Be sure to catch up on all of the latest episodes of the podcast at natashaweston.com/podcast. And also, guys, don't forget to drop a review on Apple Podcasts and subscribe for upcoming episodes. I will talk to you guys in episode number 29.